I'm back. I had to start up close captioning, and close captioning, it is updated, and I'm kind of happy with the fact that it updated. Anyway, hello. I'm hoping I fixed my frame issue. I've been having a frame issue, and I'm hoping I fixed it. In a second. There we go. So, I'm hoping I fixed the frame issue. If not, then we'll just be reading r/NoSleep, which I plan to finish a story from last time at some point in time during the stream. So, I hope to play Subnautica, because I've been wanting to play Subnautica. Partly because the new Subnautica came out. But, you know, there could be frame issues. We're gonna try. Big attempt. If frames go down, I'm gonna stop gaming and immediately go elsewhere. Open this work. It looks nice so far. It's how it always looks. So, right off the bat. Alrighty then, we're reading scary stories. Scary stories. We're reading scary stories. Ooh, also, I'm getting a new mic. I'm excited about that. I'm very excited. I ordered it yesterday, so it should either come in like Saturday or like Wednesday of next week, and I'm happy to get that set up. I'm going to finish the story of I Grew a Boyfriend, if I remember where I left off, which I probably don't. Okay, I think it was somewhere here. So, for context for the story, I grew a boyfriend. I grew myself a boyfriend. However you say it, whatever it's called. Basically, this girl lives in this, like, odd, kind of, like, obscure town. And, like, out in the middle of nowhere type stuff. And, she went to like a farmer's market, and the farmer's market had like this guy, and he was like, "Here, you're a gardener, plant this. It's like how to grow love." And she was like, "All right." So she did the thing, and then some dude popped up, and the steps to grow a boyfriend are, step 1, set the dry cocoa peat soil in a small container and add 27 drops of water. Very specific. Push the seed into the soil. Think of your ideal person. Step 3, make sure you start the growing process outdoors and leave the container outside. Step 4, you will see hints of green growing soon. When your love grows too big, plant them into a bigger container and then bury them. And so she meets this guy, and then like the plant that she was growing dies. And so she's like, cool, I gotta bury this now. And she's more or less fallen in love with this other dude. Aaron, that's his name. So we're gonna get into that. Fix this whole. Let's do it that way. There we go. It's here. Switch it so y'all can see it. Ooh, alright. So that's the backstory. She's kind of gone on a few dates, more or less, with Aaron. So Aaron and I became great friends in no time. He grew up here and had been gone for years. Okay, so this is also, I read this. I remember reading this. So he was the son of the businessman. She basically lives in this little area, kind of like a cul-de-sac. I don't know if any of y'all know. It's like the little loop of like, there's a bunch of houses. Quite nice. So she lives there, and she's got a garden. And there's this businessman that like is gone for like long periods of time. Yeah, so they basically went on a couple of dates. Right, and this is where she's like, cool, I gotta bury the plant now. And he's like, that's weird, but okay. Oh yeah. We hadn't taken the step from friendship to more yet. I still slept alone in my bed at night. At least, that's what I thought. It was the middle of the night, after 4 a.m., I believe, when I felt a sharp fingernails caress my face. I was still half asleep when it started, but as my mind slowly woke up, I felt the anxiety and terror run through my body. It wasn't enough to mobilize my body yet, however. I was frozen. My heart was beating so fast I thought it would break out of my chest. There was somebody in my bed, which honestly, that's like 7 red flags right there. Spooky scary. I had absolutely no idea what to do in that moment. Thoughts were flying through my mind, but none landed. Thoughts were flying through my mind, but none landed. I did everything I could to keep my body from shaking. I didn't want this person to know that I was awake. Finally, they got up. My mattress got lighter, and as the heavy body stood up. He was standing right above me now. I could feel it, but I kept my eyes closed. The hands touched my face one more time before I heard the heavy steps leaving my bedroom. Once he leaves, you get up, you call 911. That's you. It took quite a while until I dared to even move one muscle. I'd never lived completely by myself before. Yes, I wasn't so sure anymore whether I liked it. When I collected the courage to get up, when I collected the courage to get up, the sun was starting to rise. It wasn't all dark anymore, which helped with the fear. Lights do be like that. I would have honestly slept with like 7 lights on at that point. I tried to listen, but no noises were coming from my home. I wondered whether I had dreamed or imagined what happened that night. My phone was in the kitchen. I had to leave my bedroom to call someone. This is why landlines are quite important. I know people like getting rid of landlines because, like, you know, who needs them? Who needs a home phone? This is why you need a home phone. This is exactly why. So you can like have it in your bed, so you don't have to like worry. Like if you leave your phone like outside in the pouring rain, you have a phone indoors. Yes, it can be cut, but if they're not smart enough to cut it, boom, you got a way out. Where was I? I had to leave my bedroom to call someone, and dreaded who I might meet on the way there. I was both lucky and unlucky, however. There was nobody in my home, but whatever happened that night was not merely a nightmare. Dirty footsteps were going all the way from the garden door to my bedroom. In the kitchen, someone had prepared breakfast for me. This is what we call a stalker. This is stalker. A dead bird cut in half, neatly decorated on a plate, so it almost looked like a heart. That's what we call a stalker. I couldn't control my stomach after the sight and ran outside to the garden, where I immediately threw up. My entire body was shaking. I felt violated and scared. "Did you do this?" a familiar voice shouted. It was Miss Moreau. She stood in the garden. She stood in words. She stood in the garden together with Aaron, who looked just as shocked. At first, I thought she was screaming at him, but no, it was directed at me. And as I looked around, I understood what she meant. The entire garden was wrecked. All plants were ripped from the ground. Their roots spread everywhere. The tree was broken in two. Dead birds and mice complemented the picture. Aaron quickly walked over, trying to comfort me, I suppose. But I backed away. It was him. It must have been him. He was the newest factor in my life. And in my distressed mind, I even wondered if he had grown out of that seed. The police came, but found no signs of forced entry. No other apartment had been broken into either. It was only my home and the garden. They checked for the footsteps. They checked for the footsteps. They weren't mine, nor Miss Moreau's, and they didn't belong to any other close neighbor either. And they weren't Aaron's. Somebody else had done this. My suspicions were wrong. Aaron was not the boyfriend I grew, though the timing of his arrival could be confusing. I suppose sometimes coincidences exist. It wasn't him. The soil boyfriend arrived at night and acted as if he'd been there all along. I met him the following evening. Need to turn that off. I forgot to do a thing. That's what I forgot to do. Hold on. Second. Turn on streamer mode on Discord. You don't get notifications. It's quite nice. It wasn't him. The soy boyfriend arrived at night and acted as if he'd been there all along. I met him the following evening. After changing the locks and checking every window and gap there might be, I spent the evening with Aaron, which might have seemed a little naive, considering he was still, oh boy, he could still have been partly guilty. However, I did take some precautions. We stayed outside the whole evening. The weather was nice, and we wanted to clean the mess. The thing I loved the most about this home, the garden, was now just depressing and sad. We sat there, planning which new flowers to plant, when he surprised us. I believe that's how you say her name. Do not talk to him, Fenna. He appeared out of nowhere. No, that's a lie. I knew where he grew out. I planted him. My boyfriend was made out of whatever scraps he could find outside. He had bird feathers glued to his skin and bought with blood. There were holes in his body and his face. He had never seen daylight before. He had only grown out of the ground a day ago. Probably his underneath. Oh boy, probably he's underneath the dirt all day. Yeah, surprisingly, he could speak. However, I didn't expect that. What is that? He screamed as he grabbed one of the shovels and went for Aaron, who ducked away just in time. For family friendly. What the heck? I can't. For family friendly, but at the same time, what the heck is just better equivalent, but also funny to me. What the heck? Aaron shouted. It's okay, I said. He's just a friend. He's just a friend. I waited for you. My boyfriend turned to me and smiled a half smile and almost broke my heart. You did it all wrong, he croaked. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. At first, I wasn't sure what he meant, but I suppose it had something to do with how I planted him. Well, I planted it inside. I messed it all up, but that awful mustache man should have warned me. Right, so the guy she got it from had a mustache. He was kind of creepy, and she was like, I should have left, but I didn't. More backstory, in case you didn't watch the first half of this. At first, I wasn't sure what he meant, but I suppose it had something to do with how I planted him. I already read that. It's okay. With every word, his speech became clear. We will kill him, and I will take some of his blood. I nodded. Wait, what? I'm sorry? If that's the only way, what? He had to move quickly. I hope that Aaron realized that too. He did. With a swift move, he grabbed the pick that was on the ground and slammed it into the head of my soil boyfriend. Okay, good. I was really hoping that this was a situation of I don't actually want this man dead, but I'm gonna agree with you. Throw him off his rhythm. He screamed painfully, and it really did hurt me as well. It was all my fault after all. But we had to do it. We had to finish the 5th step. We buried him deep into the soil. It took hours. He had grown to be heavy. A tear rolled down my cheek as I poured the last bit of dirt. Ooh, those neighbors. Miss Moreau looked at once or twice. She knew what we were doing, but she didn't say a word. As I mentioned before, the people in this town are all rather odd. Oh, this is the end? I sighed. This was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Aaron and I were both full of dirt and lots of red and some green blood. You know, at first, I really thought you grew out of the dirt. Lucky for you that I didn't bury you. I tried to joke after we had cleaned up and gone inside. It had been a very stressful day. Aaron grinned. Is this a part 2? Tell me this is a part 2. Please tell me this is a part 2. It's not a part 2. Bad. That's still interesting. I love it. I will say, it's not as freaky as the other one that we read. The other one we read was about this guy, and he his family, they moved into a house, and there's a creepy basement, and his family went down into the creepy basement, and they were like, this is great, this is lovely, join us in the creepy basement. And the guy was like, no, I'm good. Um, There's a lizard. I'm sorry. I'm very distracted by the tiny lizard outside my window. Oh, this is a little series. Stayed away from Mars. The Bone Fairy. I want to read about the. Let's read about the Bone Fairy. Bone Fairy time. Bone Fairies. It's interesting. Okay. My daughter told me she was visited by the Bone Fairy, and I believed her. Everyone has heard of the Tooth Fairy. Whenever you would lose a tooth when you were younger, and so you would place it under your pillow and eagerly wait the dollar you would find under your pillow. I would be the parent that like puts a 50 under the pillow. Like your kid loses like a tooth. Like depending on what tooth it is, it like depends on like how much money they get. I don't leave like 50s under my kids' pillows. Watch them freak out. Anyway, for the dollar you would find under your pillow the next morning, only to be disappointed when you found out the Tooth Fairy gave your rich friend more money than you. I would be that parent. But at least the Tooth Fairy works on a system of give and take. She takes your lost tooth, and in exchange, she gives you some money. The Bone Fairy doesn't work like this. However, the Bone Fairy just takes. Okay. I don't know if you could hear, like, my neighbors doing yard work. Like you, I had never heard of the Bone Fairy until a few weeks ago. My 6-year-old daughter, Lily, first mentioned the fairy when she came home from school that day. Dad, is it true that I will soon lose my baby bones? She asked me, her eyes filled with worry. What do you mean, your baby bones? I replied, unsure of what she meant. Well, it's just that Rebecca at school was telling me about the Bone Fairy. She said it comes to visit you while you are asleep, and it takes your bones. So, I know that the Tooth Fairy takes my baby teeth. So the Bone Fairy must take my baby bones. I've never heard about the Bone Fairy before, so my first thought was that it was something that Rebecca must have made up or something, that she had heard from someone else. So I reassured Lily that the Bone Fairy won't visit her and take away her bones. I also explained to her that there aren't any baby bones, but the bones you are born with are the same ones you will always have. This seemed to comfort her, and I saw the worry begin to leave her eyes as she began to understand that she would be safe from the Bone Fairy. The rest of the night continued as normal. My wife, Lily, and I ate dinner together. We watched a little bit of television, and before long, it was time for Lily to go to bed. I helped her get ready, and then read her a short bedtime story. And then it was time to turn the lights out. Why do people say turn off the lights? That's so weird to me. Turn off the lights. Sorry, just as I turned the lights off and the darkness took over the bedroom, I heard Lily's small voice say to me, Dad, if the Bone Fairy does come, you will protect me, won't you? She said to me. I couldn't see her that well, but I could tell by her voice she was still a bit afraid, and so she needed some comfort and reassurance from me. Of course, darling, I replied. I will protect you from everything that you were scared of. I bent down and gave her a small kiss on the forehead and told her that I loved her and left her room. I told my wife about the Bone Fairy and how Lily was scared of it, and my wife also agreed that it was just something that one of those kids in her class had made up. That was the last this mysterious fairy was mentioned that evening, until we were woken by Lily later that night. Dad, I just saw it! It was in my room, Lily yelled as she came running into our bedroom at 3 a.m. I jumped awake and quickly sat up. I processed what had just been yelled to me and instantly became wary, thinking that someone was inside our house. I jumped out of my bed and slowly crept towards Lily's room. I made it to the doorway and slowly poked my head around to look inside the room, to see if I could see anyone in there. It was empty. There was no one there. Who was in your room, sweetheart? I asked my daughter, still thinking that there may be someone inside our house. The Bone Fairy, she replied. The fear in her voice was evident. I saw her flying out of the window. She was really here. I let out a sigh of relief. Of course. Of course that's what she had seen. I knew that it's probably just a mix of her fear and her own imagination that led Lily to being able to see the bone fairy. I told her that no one was in her room, and she walked into the bedroom, looked around to show that there. Wait, hold on. I told her no one was in her room, and walked into her bedroom and looked around to show her that no one was in there. I could tell that she was still scared, so both me and my wife decided that she could sleep in our bed that night. The next morning at breakfast, I asked Lily if she felt any better and if she was okay in our bed. She said that she did feel better and that she felt a lot safer in our bed, and not in her own. We ate our cereal, and soon we were talking and laughing about other things, like Lily's favorite cartoon, the Bosco Show. Sounds interesting. And what she would be doing at school that day. I noticed that Lily was eating cereal with her left hand that morning, even though she was right-handed. I made a slight joke about it. She didn't seem to find it funny, and looked down at her bowl. I apologized for making the joke, and she seemed to accept my apology, because we were quickly back to normal. The rest of the day passed, with no mention of the bone fairy, and I thought that maybe it wouldn't be mentioned again. Well, I hoped that it wouldn't. But come bedtime, Lily was scared again, and said that she wanted to sleep in our bed that night. I told her that it was possibly best that she tries to stay in her own bed tonight. I told her that if she was scared again later in the night, she'd come into our bed once more. She then agreed and tried her best to stay in her own bed. She did manage to stay in her own bed for most of the night. Once again, at 3 a.m, she came running into our room, waking us up. Mom, Dad, she's back. I saw her looking at me through the window, Lily screamed as she ran and jumped into our bed. She wants my baby bones. My wife and I gave Lily a big hug and told her that everything is going to be okay. She was safe now. It took a little while, maybe 20 minutes, to fully calm Lily down. But we managed, and soon she was asleep between me and my wife. We looked at each other, and we didn't even need to say a word. She knew from the look, we knew from the look in each other's eyes that we needed to do something about this. We needed to do something about this, but we didn't know what. I rolled over to try to go back to bed, but thoughts of what to do about this problem were circling in my mind. I must have dozed off though, because I awoken by a small scratching sound coming from the end of the bed. At first, I thought it might have been Lily, but I looked down and saw that she was still fast asleep next to me. It was dark in the room, so I couldn't see anything, but I could definitely hear it. Faint scratching sound. And then, it sounded like a small footstep. I blinked a few times, trying to let my eyes adjust to the darkness. I then heard another footstep, then another. I then heard the sound of rushing air, like something was beating its wings. Now, my eyes were beginning to adjust to the darkness. I could make out an outline of a fairly small figure. It may have only been 2 or 3 feet tall. I could see that it had the body of a person, but it had 2 large wings sprouting from its back. The wings were making the sound of rushing air as they flapped up and down, and the figure was beginning to float off of the floor. I saw the figure rise higher and higher off the ground, and then flew towards the window. I don't remember too much of what happened next, but I do remember two piercing yellow eyes turn around and look directly at me. I could also see the figure's hands. I could also see the figure's hand was in the figure's hand was a small object. It was hard to see this object in the darkness, but I knew exactly what it was. It was a bone. I don't remember anything after that. I just remember waking up the next morning and looking around and seeing my wife and daughter still asleep in bed. I thought everything I had seen must have been a dream, I thought the bone fairy must have been overtaken by my mind and seeped into my dreams. I breathed out a sigh of relief and let out a laugh because I knew how ridiculous this all was. The thought that I, the thought that I was, the thought that I had been scared of a story that was probably meant to scare children made me laugh. I laid in bed for another few minutes before I heard Lily stir awake. She laid there for a second before she looked up at me and said, "Dad, my fingers hurt." She said this as she held out the index finger of her right hand. I looked down at it, and it appeared to be normal. I couldn't see any cuts, bruises, or anything. Where exactly does it hurt? Hold on, let me grab water real quick. Where exactly does it hurt? I asked her, and she pointed to the middle of her index finger. I told her to tell me if it hurt when I touched her finger, and I lightly touched her finger. She immediately screamed in pain and pulled away her hand. As soon as I touched the finger, though, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't the fact that she was in pain that concerned me as much. It was that when I felt her finger, it felt soft and squishy. It felt soft and squishier than I thought. Like there was nothing solid in there. That's how we ended up at the doctor's, looking up at an x-ray they had taken of my daughter's hand. Wow, I haven't seen anything like this, the doctor said while he was looking at the x-ray. It didn't take a doctor to see what was wrong enough. Didn't take a doctor to see what was wrong, though. Even me, someone who has no medical knowledge at all, knows that there are supposed to be bones in all of your fingers. It was very disturbing to look at the x-rays and see that inside my daughter's right index finger were absolutely no bones at all. The bone fairy. I love that. I was addicted to online gambling. This one's good. The story is VHS tape, and it showed me the future. There's some pretty good ones. What other good scary stories are there? What's another like good subreddit? Scary things. Good subreddit for scary things. Okay. I recently got a job as a night shift metropolitan area express driver. I found a set of rules on my seat. Excited. I'll be telling the story from the point of view of an old friend of mine named Mark. Water sippies. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, it gave me a second. I like felt fine, and then I immediately I started stream and my body was like, but maybe you're not fine. I'm fine though. Anyway. Ooh. Hi, my name is Mark, and I'm 36 years old. It was only 5 days ago when I started this job. The pay was $50 an hour. It's a big pay. Such a simple job as a nay driver, which I found shocking. My employer gave me an interview at 5 p.m. and told me I started at 11 p.m. I was a bit shocked that I started in 6 hours, so I asked the employer, why do I start so soon? And they replied with, you passed with flying colors. He only asked me one question, can you follow instructions? And I replied with, if it's my duty. I left the office and took a nap before I started in 6 hours. It was 10:30 and I was getting on the May driver's compartment. Yes. When I take a sigh of relief. But that relief soon faded and I noticed a square yellow parchment, and it looked important. I stared at it. I stared at the top. Oh, Jesus, let me read properly. I stared at the top, and it said Rules and Regulations for May Drivers in the City. of attack. Ooh, do names, not city names. Rule 1. When your vehicle is moving, always keep track of the mileage meter. The track is 3.6 meters long, and the mileage meter will always reset after 3.6 miles. If it doesn't immediately stop the vehicle as soon as possible, and go backwards until the meter says 3.5 miles. The later you do this, the more painful it will be. After that, go forward and it should reset. Rule 2. First of all, rule 1 is mildly weird, you know? Like, it's not, you know? Like, it doesn't entirely sound crazy, but at the same time, it kind of sounds crazy. Rule 2. Under any circumstances, never leave your compartment after 11 p.m. until your shift ends at 7 a.m. There's a bathroom in your compartment, so there should be no reason for you to leave. If you fail to do this task, it will slowly feel like you are dying in the vacuum of space until you return. Well then. Rule 3. Your vehicle will receive mostly normal passengers. There's an intercom system on the left side of the steering wheel. At 2:30 a.m., you will need to get every passenger off the train using the system. Make up any excuse you need. Don't worry about if there is a stop or not. Don't worry if there's a stop or not. There will be one. You'll have 5 minutes to do this task, and whoever is left on the train at 2:35 will suffer a horrible death. Well, you gotten yourself into a great job. It pays bank, though. So, like, I think you're fine. Just follow the rules, obviously. At 2:35, you will have 10 minutes to get to your next stop and pick up a group of people in long black robes. You're picking up a cult. Your company is working for a cult. Congratulations. Long black robes. If you fail this task, you'll get on anyways, and they'll find you. Trust me, you don't want that to happen. During this time, Rule 1 doesn't apply. You'll see why. You're dealing with you, Mark. Good sir. You're working for a cult. Anyway, when the group is on the train car, you'll have to drop them off at the farthest stop you can get to in under 1 hour. Make sure to maintain legal speed limits and stay absolutely silent. If they hear you, they will find you. At 3:40 a.m., you need to check the camera for the caboose section of the train. You'll see a girl with blonde hair and an old wedding dress. Her name is Martha. If she waves at the camera, you're going to be fine. If you fail to check the camera, she walks out of the caboose. You'll have 10 seconds to head to the bathroom before the lights go out. Stay in the bathroom until the screaming stops. You work for more than a cult. Rule 7. At 4 a.m. I was going to say there's a lot of rules. There's only 8. Rule 7. At 4 a.m., there will be a train that will pass you by on the adjacent track. Pay attention to the train number. If the train number is 315, stop the vehicle. Call this number as soon as you stop. We don't have a train 315. You're dealing with cults and ghosts. That is exactly what you're dealing with. Rule 8. At any point, if someone knocks on your door, ask for their name. If their name is Ben Botbit, let them in. He'll check your work environment and he'll have a clipboard. Never look at his clipboard. If you do too long, you'll go blind. Cool. So, Rule 1 seemed pretty weird, and then, Rule 2 through 8, just, that's kind of crazy. Anyway. I swear this list was something from my imagination, but I closed my eyes and looked at it again. It existed all right. It was 11:05 p.m., and I decided to test Rule 2. The moment my foot left the doorway, I felt my chest tighten and my skin felt frozen, but my blood was still heating up really fast. That is when I decided that the rules are probably worth following. I was on my normal route, and I noticed my mileage meter did indeed reset at 3.6 miles back to zero. After that, I had mostly normal first shift, besides the people in the black cloaks. When I woke up the next morning, I got to check the I had to check the mail for $310.77 for one night of work. This must be a serious job, and the second night would prove that. I started my shift normally until 4 a.m. when the train passed. Oh boy, when the let me read that again. Normally until 4 a.m. When the train passed me, the number on the side was covered in tape, so I didn't know which train it was, and I didn't know what to do, so I left it. And I didn't call the number. Minutes later, the train passed me. The train passed me, got into my lane somehow, and started slowing down. I nearly oh boy. Ooh. When I noticed a huge 315 on the back. When the train stopped, 20 people came out, mangled faces and crowbars. When 3 of them got into my compartment, they beat me unconscious, and even after. 3 days later, I woke up in the hospital in a bit of pain because my oh boy, let me read correctly. 3 days later, I woke up in the hospital in a bit of pain because my morphine was disconnected on my bedside, and on the right was my employer, standing over me. I was scared that I was going to get fired. When he started speaking, "Mark, you're in the hospital because train 315 was not called in and stopped in front of your train. 20 men proceeded to kill every passenger on board and beat you senseless. On the review of the train front bumper footage, we found that the number was obstructed, and you would have had no way of knowing that it was train 315. None of this was your fault, Mark. You will be compensated with tenfold your wage for a year, and all your hospital bills will be paid. Goodbye, Mark. I hope to see you in 3 weeks." He put a check in my hand that said $3,107.70. I don't know if whether or not I'll quit. It's good money, but at what cost? At what cost? Follow the rules, honestly. I love that they didn't even fire him. They were just like, hey, this kind of wasn't your fault. So, money. That's insane. That was a good story there. Oop. Hotel 45. 54. I read that backwards. That's okay. This interests me. Ooh. I am. Let me join r/NoSleep. Go. How long is this? A decent amount. Cool. Do people keep leaving boxes of chocolates at your home? Nope. Does this happen to you? Do you know people who do this? I'm desperate. I've been driven all the way to downtown despite town. Desperation town. That's what words are. Right to the city center with the maps and the t-shirts and everything. And honestly, I'm not sure how much longer I can stand writing this thing out. Anyone else dealing with what I'm dealing with right now? A constant barrage of boxes of chocolates. Honestly, boxes of chocolates. Someone sent me a box of chocolates. I would love that. I guess multiple. I guess if it's like a whole bunch and you don't know where they're coming from, that is a bit strange. But like, boxes of chocolate. I saw this comic earlier today that really hit home for me. And honestly, I'm a bit misty-eyed. A lot of emotions are rushing up from my stomach into my sinuses and tearing up the old looking balls. I'm gonna start calling my eyes that. Can we all just start calling our eyes the old looking balls? Hopefully this means that at least one other person can relate to what I'm feeling. Because the comic maker, that's what it is. The comic maker was able to convey the feeling so well. The feeling of getting a box of chocolates when you didn't expect / want one. Did you make this comic? Do you know who made this comic? Of who I might share my wits end with, please. I can't be the only one tormented by boxes of chocolate. If I can't... Oh, sorry. If I can't... Oh boy. I'm bad at reading. Coming? Yep. Then I'll... Oh boy. I feel like this is how I sound to people. Are those real words? Is my brain broken? My brain's probably broken, and that's okay. Okay, here's what I'm dealing with. Even as I type this. Flyer? Ad? Plea? I find chocolate in my house all the time. I have no idea who drops it off. Who drops it off most of the time. And when I do see who drops off the chocolates, I only catch a glimpse of their backside as they scurry away. You got gremlins bringing you I want gremlins that bring me chocolate. I feel like that'd be great. I'm just left standing there in my blue lounge robe, utterly befuddled. Because I like chocolates. Sure, yeah. You know, that's something a lot of us have in common. But I don't need a fresh box of chocolate every day. Use a fresh chocolate every day. Yet there it is. My doorbell rings, and there's a box of chocolate. Still sealed in plastic. A bit chilled from a gentle refrigeration. That's how it started. Is this familiar to anyone? Hey, yeah. Hey, I yell out if I catch them running away. Cackling miscreants, darting out of view, out of range. I don't like this chocolate. I don't need this chocolate, I keep yelling, even my own overworked voice, as hoarse as it is. I hobble out of the front door on my bum leg and a homecoming dance injury in high school. Oh boy. Do they pick on high school? Oh boy. They pick on the high school educated? The honorable loners? If anyone has any information as to the motives, I'd love to know. I need to know. I just need to know why. Take back your chocolate. Who are you people? My throat is terribly raw from all this yelling. And by the time I turn around, having given up chasing the freak, I see another person scrambling away from my front door and another fresh box of chocolates on my doorstep. It happens all the time. Like I said, it's so incredibly frustrating. I don't know about you, but if I kept getting boxes, I would assume one, I've got a stalker, maybe two stalkers, maybe they're working as a team, or two, some chocolate cult is like trying to get me to join. And if that's the case, gladly. Limping back, I scoop up the box of chocolates and go inside. This is where I make a mistake. And I make this mistake every single day, it seems. But I leave my door open or unlocked, and one of these chocolate dropping freaks left yet another box of chocolates in my home on my kitchen table. I can tell it's a new one, and that they didn't just take one off a pile of old, uneaten boxes, because I mark all the boxes with an X. In permanent marker. Permanent marker isn't all entirely permanent. Sharpies are considered permanent marker, and honestly, you can get them off of quite a lot of things. Anyway, I date them too. I write the date so that I try to eat the older ones first, but I end up putting so much old chocolate down the garbage disposal. That always makes me sad. Why don't you just give these boxes of chocolate to other people? Like, you know, your friends, like, hi, I know you didn't want a box of chocolates. You did not ask. You don't need one, but like, do you want a box of chocolates? I've got like 200 in my house. Box of chocolate. Anyway. But that's what these people have forced me to do. They are making me throw away all this chocolate. I used to love chocolate, and in some ways I still do. but they're making me hate chocolate. Why did they do this? At night, there's a knock on my window. The first of many knocks, and there's a box of chocolates taped to my window. This is the second story window, too. I don't want to go out there I don't want to go out there and use a stick to get it off. But if I don't, they're just going to tape another box to that box. And so, I drag myself out of bed, grab my deboxing stick, and de-stick the box. Of course, I met with a trail of boxes of chocolates on my way back around the side of my house to my garage. Of course, I cry during this nightly routine. I'm tired, I'm frustrated. I just want them to stop leaving me boxes. Please, tell me you have a similar experience. I just want a night's sleep. No, hell, it's a good couple of hours of sleep. I know what you're thinking. Everyone asks the same question. And I don't know, okay? I don't know who they are or why they're doing this. That's why I'm writing this. Cops don't believe me. They refuse to acknowledge the boxes of chocolates as anything more than me just buying too many boxes of chocolates. I've been giving citations before because of a false crime I've reported. They wouldn't come to my house because of chocolate. So, a few times I faked a medical emergency or a home invasion. Home invasion isn't far off. The freaks enter my home, leave boxes of chocolate. This is clearly criminal behavior, and motivated by some sort of discrimination. I'm a victim. They leave them at the police station too when I go there. And no, I don't just let the boxes pile up outside my house, because then the raccoons get to them. They're worse. They're mean-spirited and much worse. The chocolate at least tastes good. Someone drew raccoons in a comic I saw. The one I mentioned earlier. Did you draw it? You're dealing with the same problem then, yeah? Please contact me. Help me understand. What few friends I keep in touch with have abandoned me. They call me crazy. They've seen the people leaving the boxes of chocolate, though. Seen the pile in my house. How am I the crazy one? I had one friend, Jay, over only a few hours. Just a few hours. And he gorged himself on chocolates. He watched the people sprint towards the house, bubbling over with mischievous giggling, and dropping another box of chocolates off at my doorstep. It's just your friends, honestly, they're just messing with you. That's like the best thing I can say. At my doorstep, my lawn, my driveway, in the tree, in the mailbox, one chocolate leaving threaded into the window like a confused bird, but that only made them laugh harder as they dashed away. What did Jay do? He was my friend. He did nothing. He said I ordered too much chocolate online. I didn't order anything online. What's he talking about? I can't trust anyone. I spend most of my days in exhausted tears. If I don't go out and to try to meet them, they try to chase them. They tie their boxes of chocolates to bricks and smash my windows. The phone? You videotape this. The little videotape, you know? Or watch you. Window repairs are getting expensive, and the window repairman judges me. I howl out, give in to a mandatory and futile chase. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep eating all these chocolates. I can't keep trying to run on my bum leg. My heart hurts. Why are they doing this? They're a leader? An organization? You know, don't you? Contact me when you see this flyer. I'm hoping I'm not the only one. The only cursed by whatever it is that is happening to me. By these people. All this chocolate? Surely the maker of the comic is one like me. Just too specific. And if and hope someone sees this flyer slash cry for help knows of my experience. It's a small comfort, this hope, and a sliver of light amidst a nightmare. It's not enough, though. If I'm being honest, there'll be another box of chocolates soon enough, because there always is. I just want it to end one way or another. Move. If that doesn't work, burn your house down. You gotta kill him. Ooh. It's an upvote, folks. Let me refresh the page real quick. I think I got time for like one or two more. Ooh. This one just sounds interesting. Let me read this one. Spooky scary. Spooky scary go bird. Come on. Load. No, you've got the willpower to load. Now can you load? Damn. When old lady knocks at your door in the middle of the night, please don't open them. I left this town. I moved there as soon as the pandemic in my country started. I live in Central Europe, and my country was hit by COVID quite hard. Because I wanted to have some calm place to do my remote work. It was a poor chance as I passed the town in order to watch another house in another city. But when I noticed that the white wooden facade and the board reading "For Rent" stuck to the front of it, I knew it would be my new house. Living there was much cheaper than my confined apartment in the center of a big city, and in better state. Maybe it wasn't renovated in this century, but still it had electrical installation, applying power even when all the modern devices and half a dozen chargers. Right, big lizard out window. Big lizard out window. He do distract. Even when all the modern devices and half a dozen of chargers were connected at once. In my previous apartment, it was not so obvious. Besides that house had a small living room with open kitchen, neat bedroom in the attic, and garden in the back. Fortunately, it consisted only of lawn, a few floral bushes, nothing too hard to maintain for a city man like me. The lot was adjacent to a beautiful pine forest. I loved the peaceful rustle and the birds singing on sunny days. My neighbors were fantastic people, hospitable and open-minded, and they could understand that I'm kind of an introvert, so they didn't take offense when I refused their invitation to a big party. Additionally, they tried to be as quiet as possible in the evening, knowing that I often work till 8 p.m. I thought that it was the perfect place to live. I thought so for almost a year. Last night, my whole ideal picture crumbled to pieces. It all began with a loud knocking on my front door. Who the hell is that? Sorry, big bug outside window now. Ooh, distract. I thought that... Sorry, who the hell is that? I told and looked at the alarm clock. It's 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and I was about to start the day with an important conference in schedule at 9 a.m. I couldn't let myself be sleepy in the morning. I slowly went downstairs and looked through the people. Miss Rayleigh. Of course, it's not her real surname. Obviously, you had to keep people's information private. Also, there's like a little wasp boy that just hangs outside my window. Don't appreciate that. I slowly went downstairs and... Sorry, I already read that, obviously. Old lady living in a decaying house across the street. When it wasn't too cold, she always sat in the front of her house watching the area. I've only known her face. I've never had a chance to talk to her. The neighbors told that she was sick and unable to do anything around the house. Poor lady was at the mercy of her children who came to town once or twice a week. Still enough, though. It was a petite old lady standing on the other side. I had goosebumps. Old people's weird behaviors creeped me out, reminding me that someday I will be elderly too. Either she's sleepwalking or suffers some kind of dementia. Miss Riley, you need to go back to your home and sleep. It's not your home. Sorry, Wasp Boy keeps coming back. I don't appreciate that. I kindly informed Miss Riley, although I was mad at her for interrupting my sleep. She didn't answer. She kept knocking in rhythmic manner. Knock after knock. I waited for a minute, serving her through the people, and repeating that it's not her home. During that time, Miss Riley knocked louder and louder, hitting the door with strength which was really surprising for a person her age. Finally, I decided that I must open the door for her. Not only did she seem to be wanting to stay here all night, I was afraid that her arm bones might not survive such a hard knock. Slowly, I twisted the door lock and opened the door. Riley didn't say a word. She put 1 foot beyond the threshold and started slowly walking to the back door leading to my garden. She had her eyes open, but she seemed completely unaware of her surroundings. As I suspected, she seemed to be sleepwalking. Miss Riley, it's not your home, I repeated. I repeated my mantra. I heard that you shouldn't wake someone sleepwalking. I decided that it may be best to lead her home. I tried to take her arm and turn her towards the door. A few seconds later, I lied on the floor. Miss Riley knocked my hand with such power that she almost broke my elbow, then used the same arm to push me. She used only one arm. Leave me alone, she told in a deep voice, coming somewhere from the stomach. It's nowhere near the voice you'd expect. So I crawled behind the couch and caught... What? Sorry. I crawled behind the couch and caught the umbrella stand next to it, ready to use it as a weapon. Once, a few seconds, I peeked from behind the furniture to discern the situation. Nothing really happens. Miss Riley shuffles towards the back door, stopped, seemingly defenseless. Every time I looked from behind the couch, my heart was about to explode. Anytime she could change direction and run towards me. I analyzed different scenarios in my head. Could be an inconvenient situation for me, even if I managed to defend myself. How in the world would I be able to explain to the policeman or persecutor that I killed this woman in defense? Fortunately, there's no confrontation. But the forthcoming events... It's the end. Wait, hold on. The forthcoming events were not really comforting. When Miss Riley finally approached the garden door, she didn't wait too long. She didn't knock. She pushed the door with both hands slightly away. They cracked, fell on their hinges, and they were made of thin ice or paper. Goodbye, sweetie, she told. This time, her voice was soft and a bit squeaky. And it came from the mouth. No doubts. It was definitely her natural voice. It took me a few moments to gather myself. I quietly walked over to the door and carefully poked my head out. There's no trace of Miss Riley. Totally panicked, I left town and arrived at the old motel situated about 10 miles away. I was obviously unable to sleep, so I described the events of that terrible night. 5 p.m. It's 5 p.m. in my country, but I've not left my room yet. Sitting in darkness, lowered curtains. Don't blame it on me. Not this. If it's the only and last update, someone knocking at the door. That deserves that deserves a vote. That's pretty good. Alright. It's been an hour. I haven't streamed for a bit, so my voice is like actually killing me. So I think I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna try to fix the frame issue again. Because like that's a kind of a big issue I need to fix. So I'm going to do that. That was me reading from r/NoSleep. r/NoSleep is a pretty cool Reddit page with just some spooky stories on it. Highly recommend you check it out. I will be getting a new mic, so hopefully it will sound better when I read more stories, because I do plan to read more from r/NoSleep. So it's pretty cool. I'm hoping to fix the frame issue so I can play video games. It'll also be pretty swag. And that's really it. Also, if you hadn't noticed already, if you check down, like under in like the place where the title is, you'll see that under team, I'm part of a team now, and you should go check out everyone that is on that team list. All pretty cool. And if you are a small streamer, I recommend you join that. Anyway, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed all of that fun spooks. Fun spooks. Let me get all of my stuff situated. There you go. But I hope you enjoyed some fun spooks. I hope to do more r/NoSleep. I also hope to do gaming again when I can get everything fixed and done. And I can do more than just sit and scroll through things. I'm gonna work on fixing that. That's about it. As for announcements, again, if you missed any of my streams, VODs are up on YouTube. If you are interested in updates, check out my Twitter. If you want to hang out more and like vibe places, Discord is the place to go. I've got a Discord. You go down to the About section, there should be just a little thing that says Discord on it. Also, if you're looking for some streamer tips, I've been more or less posting. I posted some streamer tips on TikTok, so you should check that out. I might go through and update some of them. Those are cool. You should check them out. If you have any suggestions, feel free to put them in the suggestions box that I have in my About section as well. I believe that's all the announcements I have. I will be out for 2 weeks in June. I have no control over that. I'll just be out for 2 weeks in June. So I'm hoping to get streams for this week. Anything that's streamed this week will be going to the first week as a VOD on YouTube. Same with streams for next week. There's also Big Lizard. Big distracting. Yeah, I hope to stream games again. I hope to stream with other people. I hope to do more of this. I hope to vibe more. Excited to get my new mic in. I'm so excited. If you want updates on that, check out my Instagram. I will be talking about it when I get it. And you'll get updates with that. I'm very excited for that to come in. It should come in either Saturday or Wednesday of next week, and I'm so excited. So if any of that interests you, check out any of my social medias. And that is it. Anyway, thank you for being here, thank you for vibing, thank you for joining us. Always, I will see you whenever I stream again. Bye!